To illustrate the challenges of being empathetic in marketing, I want you to consider the shallow pond paradox. It's a thought exercise created by teacher and ethicist Peter Singer as a way to look at empathy and altruism in a different light. For the sake of this story, let's pretend we aren't in these difficult times and that it's generally safe to go outside without a mask. The story goes like this. Imagine that you've got a big presentation later today. You want to impress the audience, so of course you put on your favorite business attire, a pair of brand new shoes, and your lucky watch. On your way to the presentation, you travel over a bridge built above a shallow pond. Now, as you cross the bridge, you hear a child crying out for help. It seems that the child has fallen into the pond and also appears to be drowning. To jump in and pull the child out of the shallow pond would be easy, but it will mean that you get your clothes wet and dirty. And by the time that you go home and change, you would have missed your really important presentation. Now let me ask you this. Do you have an obligation to rescue the child? Unsurprisingly, a vast majority of you will say, yes. Yes, you do. The importance of saving the child far outweighs the cost of getting your favorite clothes all muddy and missing your important presentation. You will even refuse to consider any kind of excuse for not saving this child. So where's the paradox? Let's consider another child who lives in Africa. This child suffers from hunger, poverty, and is likely to get sick with a preventable disease. If it's a moral imperative to save the first child at the cost of ruining your expensive outfit, we certainly face that same imperative every single day. Using the internet and all of these online channels, we should be able to send money to organizations that could potentially save this second child. But we don't. What's the difference? Why does the situation of the first child inspire us to spring into action, while the second child leads to nothing more than just sharing a Facebook post and calling for change? Marketing actually offers us 3 answers. The first one is that proximity matters. The first child is literally dying right in front of me. Walking away now would bring me an immense feeling of shame and regret. And because many of us, we live to avoid negative feelings, of course we'll jump right in to save the child. It isn't a problem that's happening far away. It's unfolding right in front of us, and that urgency is powerful. The impact of an event happening close to you and happening right now is a strong push to get you to accomplish even the most difficult of tasks. The second is emotional leverage. Distance matters, yes, but it isn't as big of a hurdle as we think it is. If it were a loved one needing that help from far away, would you hesitate? Of course not. You would gather and mobilize all the resources that you have in order to help them out. So distance isn't the problem. It's not that you can't help the second child. The reality is simply you don't care enough. There isn't enough emotional leverage to move you into action. And number 3 is the promise of a status upgrade. Subconsciously, you know that saving the first child would lead to approval or some sort of recognition. We love being the hero of a story, and this situation fulfills that desire. We like feeling helpful. We like feeling that we matter, and there aren't a lot of situations that can really drive up those feelings quite like saving another life. It doesn't take away any of your good intentions though, but it's just the reality. We do things for the promise of a status upgrade. These are the problems that many businesses face when they try to sell their products or services. They are marketing to an audience that is too far away from them. They have no emotional leverage to solve the problems of their customers. And putting in the actual work to really know their customers often does not lead to any satisfactory recognition. We've always had this gap in empathy, and I had to learn that the hard way. I actually didn't realize how huge this gap was until I saw it for myself. I started my work in the industry a few months after graduating from college. I was this wide-eyed, idealistic boy who thought I could change the world through my work in marketing. I created all of these frameworks and Excel sheets, and I made these really cheesy pitch decks. I mean, my vision was bold, to create human and helpful brands. My entire ethos was built around the idea of infusing more empathy and altruism into the marketing of my clients. I didn't want to just sell random stuff. I didn't want to sell junk. I firmly believe that marketing is empathy in motion. I really wanted to learn more about my clients' customers and market them real solutions to actual problems they had. I was convinced that this vision, this idea of creating human and helpful brands was enough. It had to work, right? I mean, empathy should be common sense. But wow, I was so wrong. I underestimated how difficult it was for many businesses to embrace the concept of being truly human and helpful. We live in a society that still rewards crappy and dishonest marketing. We have businesses that use uninspiring messages to get you to buy things that you don't really need. They still bid and battle for all of these shallow vanity metrics like video views or the number of page likes. There is a systematic dilution of empathy in this industry. And it was soul-crushing to learn that firsthand. I mean, I've walked out of way too many meetings feeling utterly disappointed with how heartless some people were. I just couldn't understand how easy it was for some of my prospects to disregard the work needed to be truly customer-centric. Now, as I reflected on it, I realized that marketing is just a means to an end. It's used by people whose agenda influences its utility and impact. Consider this. The platform that generated millions of dollars in donations and brought tons of awareness to the ALS Association is the same platform that gave political power to authoritarians and psychopaths. The lack of empathy isn't a marketing problem. It's a leadership problem. Marketing is just a tool. Leadership is the real X factor here. The gap in empathy does not exist because we're chasing page followers. It exists because somebody made the order to pull that trigger. There is often a huge gap between a business and the reality of their customer, not because of bad marketing. It's because business leaders don't see the value in bridging that gap in the first place. And if you need proof of this, just look at the headlines last year. Some businesses still sought out every single peso they could possibly get from customers. Some businesses gave their executives million-peso raises and bonuses while having to let go of countless employees. Some businesses use work from home as an excuse to keep having these useless meetings. I'm a firm believer that adversity does not build character. It reveals it. And this pandemic has shown us which of our leaders are truly empathetic to the needs of the people they serve. And for someone as young as I am, trying to convince business leaders more than twice my age to embrace empathy is sometimes an exercise in futility and a display of naivety. Now, given all of this, I ask myself, why do I bother? It's because someone has to push back against these ridiculous practices. And I'm happy to tell you that I'm not alone. For every client that just wants likes, is a client that is so passionately all about their customers, it makes me want to quit my job and join them right then and there. I've worked with some of these businesses that have turned empathy into productivity and profit. They are quietly in the background making sure every message is simple and sincere. They are humbly collecting feedback and making iterations to their products based on what they learn. You might not realize it yet, but the age of the customer is in full swing. Customers are armed with information and abundance of choices. Businesses that will win in this era are the ones that are able to build the strongest relationships with their customers. Not through gimmicky marketing tactics, not through spammy emails. Winning will only happen through honest and genuine connections. That's why I feel so strongly about my work. Because not only is being empathetic the human thing to do, but doing so can lead to financial success for businesses. It's no longer a zero-sum game. Both business and customer can walk away as winners. So how can businesses do it? How can they be empathetic and profitable in today's environment? They will have to live up to 3 core values. The first one is curiosity. Business leaders have to be genuinely curious. They have to really seek out the answers to the tough questions like, why does my customer need my product? Or what beliefs do they have that lead them to their decision? Learning these hard truths will be humbling, but these are the insights that will lead to some truly innovative and positive outcomes. The right questions don't lead to easy answers. The right questions often produce harder and more confusing questions. And when that happens, you know your curiosity is taking you somewhere important. The second one is collaboration. Now, there is an African proverb I really like. It goes something like this: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. You would be surprised by how many organizations are also trying to become examples of empathy. Collaborating with others is one of the things that makes us truly human. So it makes a ton of sense to work with others to do and execute meaningful work. There are dozens of tools available now that can help any business reach more people in a meaningful but productive way. And the last value is commitment. There are a lot of compromises to make this happen, so buckle up for the ride ahead. Like I said, the reason why empathy isn't as common as we'd like is because it doesn't immediately make business sense. The status quo exists because for many decision makers, investing in customer feedback, doing the deep and important research, and considering their employees' mental health isn't profitable. Maybe not in the short term, yes, but in the long term, kindness always wins. It had to take a pandemic to remind us of what is truly essential, and that is our relationships with other people. Marketing, at its core, is really all about understanding others and educating them on solutions to the problems that they have. When you pair this with leadership that is focused on making a positive impact, you set yourself up for success. Now, I've accepted that I won't be able to change the minds of all my clients, that I won't probably convince all my prospects to embrace more empathy. Not all of us are destined to become Elon Musk or Steve Jobs or even Taylor Swift. Not all of us are meant to change the world, and that's okay. We just need to make an impact from where we stand. We just need to do what we can do today for the lives that we interact with right now. To end, I'd like to share with you the story of a single starfish. One day, an old man was walking along the beach. The sand was littered with thousands of stranded starfish that the water had carried in and then left behind. The man knew the starfish would die if left on the beach's dry sand, but he reasoned that he could not possibly help them all, so he chose to do nothing and kept walking. Soon afterward, the man came upon a small child on the beach who was frantically throwing one starfish after another back into the sea. The old man stopped and asked the child, "What are you doing?" "I'm saving the starfish," the child replied. "Why waste your time? There are so many, you can't save them all, so what does it matter?" argued the man. Without hesitation, the child picked up another starfish, tossed the starfish back into the water and said, "Well, it mattered a lot to that one. Thank you and have a good day."